And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the iFilmmaker podcast. My name is Ariel Martinez. Today we have a very fun episode for you guys today. And before we get to that, I just want to remind you guys that we are live on YouTube. And if you're not getting notified, it's because you're not subscribed and you're not receiving these notifications every time we go live. Sometimes it is last minute, sometimes it's well planned, but regardless, you should be getting these notifications. So I encourage you guys to go and subscribe to this channel, to the iFilmmaker YouTube channel. But with that out of the way, we do have filmmaker Julien Jarry here. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It feels good to be sitting here. Yeah.
We've been trying to get you on the show for a little while, ever since we met at NAB, which was awesome this year. And it was actually a pleasure to meet you in person for the first time.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to meet you too. It was fun. It was definitely like a 1 second surprise, right? So we were both in the same lobby of this big hotel, and long day of work for me. We're standing there, we got some gear or something, and then you and Matt who is Matt Johnson, wedding master.
Yeah.
Of disaster, kind of rip through around the corner, and they're like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Yo, what up? Hey," and you're like, "Hey," and then you guys walked out. And
it was such an awkward moment because we did not expect to see each other. I saw you and I immediately recognized you. The funny thing is that Matt didn't recognize you off the bat. He's like, "Hey," it was one of those awkward moments where we're like, "Hey guy, how you doing?" And then as we walked out, he started to ask me, "Who was that?" And I said, "Well, that's Julien Jarry, man." He's like, "Oh, dude, that's Julien Jarry." And then he knew who you were from Instagram, but I guess he just didn't recognize you. It was such a funny, awkward moment there.
Yeah, that was fun. I didn't find it that awkward. That was fun. I had touched base with him through YouTube and Facebook a couple years back, but we hadn't connected. So it had been a while, and he's probably hit up all the time by people.
Yeah.
And then I had this cool idea to make a post or something, get all of us with like this group photo or something, and I was texting all you guys, and it never happened just because I was running around so much. I was actually working there doing Sennheiser daily recap videos and product videos and stuff like that. So I wasn't just hanging out. I was working, which was fun. It was amazing. It was my first time at NAB.
Nice. And you were there for Sennheiser?
Yeah. So I was there for Sennheiser, which was awesome because I was there for work.
Nice.
So it was amazing.
Well, that's cool. Wish I could get a job just shooting NAB.
It was awesome. Yeah. So,
nice. And I wanted to kind of start with a brief history of your background in what you do. You're essentially a documentary filmmaker. You're a DP, cinematographer. How did you get there? Like, how did you start in the whole video world?
Yeah, so I mean, people ask me this all the time, and I just tell them my story, and hopefully it just encourages them to go, "Oh man, oh okay," because a lot of people, check somebody out on Instagram if they have a lot of followers, or they look like they're doing what they're doing, with serious cameras, and they look like they're working all the time, and they kind of, maybe, I'm guessing based on comments and questions I get, assume that like that happened overnight. But that's not the truth. And actually they're encouraged by my story, which is, this is like a 9-10 year journey. And 9 or 10 years ago, I have this little point and shoot camera that my mom had bought me. And I, for some reason, like really connect with it. Like we didn't have a lot growing up. So this kind of like electronic thing, it was, what year was it? It was like 2009, right? So it was like there was that Facebook thing where people are posting pictures, and I don't think Instagram was around back then. No way. And I remember taking a couple of these pictures of like these leaves and this kind of autumn forest. And um, my dad had a history of photography. He was a photographer, and he would give me this feedback. I never touched photography before 2009. But in that moment with that little camera, my dad would give me this feedback, like very harsh, but very good feedback. Like, you can get better. You have to like be very critical of your work and do this and
Mm.
do that. And I just fell in love for some reason with that little camera. And when I graduated college in just December 2010, for some random reason, out of nowhere, I I geeked out and looked up this brand new Lumix camera, this Micro Four Thirds GF1, and I bought it. And I didn't have a clue what anything was. I thought the 20 millimeter lens that came with it was a wide lens because that's what my friend said a 20 millimeter was. I didn't know anything about a crop factor and realized it was actually a 40. And
Hmm.
but I mean, the short version is just basically not hustled in a bad way, hustled in a good way out of passion and out of like, oh my gosh, I love everything about photography and landscapes. And I just want to go shoot this bird with this super long lens, or I want to go shoot this water. And what's an HDR and what is a long exposure? Because I see it on Flickr and I'm trying to
Mhm.
figure out how to do that. And it was just that, like, every day on YouTube, every day on Flickr, every day YouTube University, like teaching yourself the next thing you wanted to figure out. And again, short version, it went from that to what I'm doing now,
Right.
which is hopefully high end video work. And, the next move is like more commercial work and just really whatever comes my way. And I've been super blessed to have this contract with Sennheiser where we're doing 36 episodes a year. It's their web series. So if you go onto their YouTube, you'll see 3 camera interviews, long form interviews that we're doing, accompanied by B-roll, doing mini documentaries on these like very high end audio professionals. I mean, very high end. These people have one guy has the most Grammy nominations in the world without a win.
Wow.
One guy live mixes what you hear American Idol. Another lady does all of Star Wars. We just did a guy that did Titanic. I mean, it's incredible. It's called the Pro Talk series.
Hmm.
And then what is absolutely insane is next month I'll be going away for 26 days on a big 150-foot boat. It's a research vessel. It's called the Alucia, and it's with
Wow.
Ocean X, and they are hired by BBC all the time. They shot most of Blue Planet 1 and 2, and the fact that I get to go there and shoot everything top water is just insane. So I tell everybody, I'm like, don't, what did they ask me how to do this for a living, and I say, just, you have to be passionate, you have to love it, you have to share your work,
Mm.
um, and you just have to just live it. I mean, I just love it. Like, it's not coming from anything other than the fact that I'm like so obsessed and passionate about
Yeah.
photography and filmmaking, and then everything else follows. And it takes time. It's not going to happen in a week. You're
Of
not going to
course
get
not.
this job of a lifetime in a week. You're going to get it 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9 years later, if you can.
Yeah, I love that so much, man. That's such a good story and very familiar, very familiar. I think that in these past days that you and I have been trying to and been communicating, we've kind of both realized how much we have in common with regards to how we started, where we learned, the whole YouTube University, uh, and where we are now, down to like the cameras that we're using and all that stuff. Is very, very familiar. So I know exactly what you're talking about in the passion that you have to have um, to do work like the work that we're doing, because you absolutely have to love it, because it's not gonna, like you said, it's not gonna be overnight. There are going to be some struggles for sure, you know, and you have to put yourself out there and basically fishing. Someone's gonna find your work, someone's gonna love your work, and you're off for the races.
Absolutely. And it's not like this just came to me, but I mean, it's kind of a joke, but it's not a joke. I mean, friends of mine, I mean, last year or even last week, it's like I'm taking family photos of people like at the beach. You know, it's not
Yeah,
like it it's a balancing act. Like I'm saying no to that stuff more recently, but obviously if friends are going to ask me, I'm going to do it. But
yeah,
I'm not too good for that. But at the same time, you know, 2 3 years ago, I was shooting like events. Like that's where I was getting most of my
hmm,
income was like shooting event photography, and but all the while in the background, like loving video and wanting to do more video and
yeah.
making stuff for fun. And you know, finally somebody gave me a shot. There's a lot. There's a lot to be said with that. I know we're trying to keep it short, but you know, because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like the whole gist of it, like without getting into detail, the shots that are gonna come in a form of obviously hard work and dedication, and that can only be done with passion because throughout that whole time, you're not seeing much return on all the work that you're putting into, and that's why the aspect of passion has to be there.
Yeah, that's a good thing you just said. Like return, like instant return on investment. That's a good point. Is it's like a long game.
Yeah,
That's actually a really good thing that I haven't said
right.
uh, out loud. It's definitely a long game. It's and we could go right into buying the FS7 or the Red or something. It's a long game. So, you know, start shooting videos because it's fun. You know,
Yeah,
it's a long game. You know,
right.
depending on where you are and what you're doing and who you know. It could be 6 months down the road. It could be 6 years down the road where you're going to be getting hired for videos to begin
Yeah,
with, or like your dream video, or even beyond. You know, it takes time. And even you know, I listen to some podcasts or watch or listen to some big name DPs, and they're doing the exact same thing. They're
yeah,
leveling up. They're quote unquote leveling up all the time. You know, they're getting jobs that just
yeah,
are not going on their reels, and then every once in a while they can get one that they put on their reel, and they can kind of level up or upgrade a video on their website. So we're all trying to do that.
yeah,
That's kind of the move or the equation or the formula.
yeah. Yeah, and you know what? A perfect example of this is that I have a friend that's a very close friend of mine that has been trying to not has been trying to. She's asked me before, let help me start a photography company, right? But the thing about that is that um, I don't, and I would love to help anyone start a photography company, but I don't really see her taking too many photos all the time, you know? And I see, I mean,
Yeah.
she loves babies, so she loves taking pictures of babies. She loves taking pictures of pets. But she doesn't have a camera with her all the time. She does it only when, you know, I guess it's convenient. And so for that reason alone, I've told her, you know, you don't really have a passion for this. Like it's fun, and I think anybody else would agree. It's fun to just pick up a camera and start shooting, but I don't see you, like, for example, and I've asked her, how many tutorials have you seen on video in the past month, right? I'll ask her, what have you learned on your own? What have you learned? And, you know, she hasn't seen any. So I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
this isn't for you. You're going to be very disappointed if you want to do this. And
Yeah.
it's going to be a waste of my time, you know? I'm not going to,
Yeah, the short version is success follows passion, and maybe success isn't even the right word, but
yeah,
work follows passion, or people pay attention.
sure.
Um, I'm going to be bouncing all over the place, but the short short version is I just started posting um, all the pictures I was taking passionately,
Sure.
landscapes in town and on Facebook,
Yeah.
and I just started posting them. And again, long game, 2 3 years later, people started to take notice, and people started to send me an email or send me a text or send me a message and say, "Hey, can you do these headshots? Or, hey, can you do this, whatever? And they would be like friends from high school that now like work at a lawyer's office. And the only reason why they know that I would take pictures is because I posted those pictures on Facebook. So
Mm.
I have so that's like number one, be passionate. Number two, share your work. Because if you do this secretly and don't have a website, how's anybody ever going to know what you do? And then just to jump into where I went like full time was I was working at a restaurant. I was running a restaurant for 3 years, and everything inside of me wanted to shoot photo video full time. And I had a couple random freelance gigs, but I couldn't get out of the restaurant. I was working 60, 70 hours a week, and I was taking pictures of food, and I was taking pictures of, I would go to church on the weekends and take pictures at church, and I would shoot like mission trip videos and stuff like that. And the stars aligned, 3 years into the restaurant. When I wanted to leave, my church was hiring a person like me part time, and they did end up hiring me. And I took this leap of faith to go, okay, I'm going to work 20 hours a week at this church doing photo video, and then I'm going to jump into the freelance world.
Mm.
And I can look back. This was 4 years ago. You look back 4 years ago at my work. I mean, you know how it is. You get better every single
Yeah.
day. You make mistakes every single day. I
Yeah.
mean, you look back 4 years, it's like, all right, you took okay pictures, but you look at the video work,
Yeah.
it's not very good. And it is, but it isn't, right?
Mm.
So it's,
Yeah.
anybody can point to camera and focus and things can look okay, but
Pretty much.
does it look as refined as somebody with more experience? And
Right.
so I started working at the church. I learned a lot over the last 4 years working at the church, just having a space to work all the time. And what I personally fell into was real estate photography. I had a friend who was a realtor, successful realtor, is in town. Again, something we haven't even talked about yet is the people you know. But
Mhm.
99% of all the work I've ever got is the people I know. The Sennheiser contracts, he's a friend from high school who works
Yeah.
at Sennheiser. Um, so I
Nice.
started shooting real estate for 3 years, like a stupid amount of real estate,
Mm.
photo and video. And it just, I got a little taste. Um, I, I was hanging out with my friend who works at Sennheiser. We had reconnected because he liked photography. He obviously knew I liked photography. We reconnected. He told me what he did for work, which was basically, I'm in charge of the creative process and I hire production companies to make videos for us. And I said, holy moly.
Come on now.
Um, and I played it cool, and he'll tell you the same story. The quote is, I said to him, I said, hey, we're hanging out right now. Let's keep it casual. But based on what you just said, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to be hired for that. And I'm going to bug you. And not 1 week later, he called me and he said, hey, we have this super quick thing that we have to race out to Colorado for. We need to shoot this mega church who has like 6 services, 15,000 people, huge giant production. And
Jeez.
Sennheiser is going to market to the House of Worship market for the first time. And we're going to do what was called a pro talk. We're going to interview this audio engineer,
Mhm.
turn it into 3 episodes, and then do a ton of B-roll. So number one, I was like, absolutely. Number two, I'm like, this was the chance I've been waiting for. I mean, I'm ready for this. I've been working for 7 years to get to this point. I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
I got. Let me get my stuff together. I got my lenses. I got my cameras. And it was cool because he wasn't necessarily in this kind of contemporary church culture world, and I was working at the church, and that's what I do. I work part-time at a modern non-denominational contemporary church. So there was that, and I've also been shooting that church for like 3-4 years.
Oh,
And so
wow.
it's a no-brainer to in Connecticut. So it's a no-brainer to like get the B-roll in a church in Colorado that tells the story of the church, right? I'm like there, we can. And I went there, and they absolutely loved it. Like, it was so much better than the product they had before, and they offered me like the whole, web series contract the next year. So it was amazing. I mean, it was my moment, and we did it.
It's a
And
phenomenal opportunity.
beyond, yeah. And again, going back, it's all in the people you know. Is like, lean into your network, lean into the people, like, and again, it takes time. This was 7-8 years into
Sure.
me shooting. This wasn't like a one day thing. And we're eventually going to get there. We talked about getting to gear, and we can talk about it forever. But
Yeah.
I shot those um, interviews at the time in Colorado. I had two 1DX Mark IIs, Canon and Canon lenses. I shot everything in 4K because we wanted to make it as epic as possible. And when I got back, I was like, okay, that was amazing. But now is the time to level up, and I need a real cinema camera because
Mhm.
I see these long form interviews, and I was doing a lot of interviews with church.
Okay.
And I was doing a lot of interviews elsewhere, whether it would be a small business or what. And this was the time that for me to go, okay, now I can justify, now I can level up and get a real cinema camera, because as epic as the 1DX Mark II is for 1,000 reasons,
Yeah.
I needed XLR inputs. I needed no recording limit, and I needed a more efficient codec. The 1DX Mark II would do 4K at like five. It's not exactly 500 megabits per second, but it's like, I can't remember now, but let's just say it's 30 minutes on a 128 card, where the Sony FS7 is twice as efficient. It's like
Yeah.
60 minutes of 4K on a 128 card. So for a number of different reasons, and dynamic range and internal ND filters,
That's a
and
big one.
a camera that is an industry standard director of photography's next level up from the DSLR world. Those were all the reasons why I picked up an FS7. And I did not go Canon C300 Mark II, probably because it was potentially more expensive, but I don't even remember looking at it. I think it was the slow motion. I think the lack of 4K 60. I think the FS7 was just it.
Yeah,
So,
it's definitely an industry standard nowadays, for sure.
do you think we're bouncing around too much? Do you think we covered what what do you think?
That's usually how these episodes go. So I wanted to you said something interesting. It was about the people that you know. It's about the people that you know. I wanted to kind of clarify something that although it is important to know people and know the right people and have the right networks, and that all comes with time, nothing's ever going to happen if you don't have, I guess, the passion
1,000%. Yeah, of course.
to finish, I guess, get you past the finish line, because you could have the right networks, but if and when they see your work, and like you said, they saw your work and obviously it was up to par or even better, the choice was easy for them,
Yeah.
because
No, so
you had the passion to continue learning regardless of whether you had work or not.
yeah, you bring the other side of the two-part puzzle perfectly. I said, you got to have this network, but then
Yeah.
obviously you have to have the work. I just had somebody reach out to me about something, and it's I don't see the passion, I don't see the thing, and I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not motivated to work with that person because
Sure.
the lack of that. So absolutely. But I do say that because a lot of people don't know that I'm trying to give them all sides of the coin. So they should be encouraged that, yes, you have to do really, really well, be passionate, and do it because you love it, and try to get better every day. Try to learn, go shoot. If you're not shooting, if you haven't shot in a couple days and you think you love photography, is like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Like, why aren't you out shooting? I
Yeah.
remember shooting all the time when I first
Yeah.
started, like all the time, out in the middle of the night, shooting time lapses of like the most boring street. Um, but again, to be encouraging,
Yeah.
it's the people, it's not this random thing where like you're going to get this epic client, it's you can knock on all your next door neighbors' doors, and those people, all those small businesses in your town need a video,
Yeah,
and you could be the one to make it for them.
that's interesting. I love that. Um, although I mean, I would also say that who know? I mean, I had a great client that I'm no longer in contract with. However, I do quite a bit of work with them. We've moved on from contract to a per project basis, but for a nice 2.5 years, they, that we were on contract. And you know what? I do appreciate them because actually moving out of contract was a little bit better because they had me doing a lot of stuff throughout the week that actually took up a lot of time. But they found me online and we did a couple of projects together. They loved it. And it was one of those things where I'm constantly always looking for the opportunity to get another client on contract. If I see that they're doing a lot of work with me, uh, I'm charging on my normal rate. I'm perfectly willing to obviously lower my rate on the on the per shoot level and the editing and all that stuff, so long as they're um have constant work all the time. And I just think that I always try to find those opportunities where that's usually the case. It's not very often though. It's not very often. You just got to be prepared for when it does come
Yeah,
along.
I mean, this is all. I hesitate to say it's all new to me, but no, it is all new to me. I mean,
Yeah.
it. I don't think that's normal. I think normally somebody asks for video, and you say you just agree on something. You go into pre-production, you shoot it, you edit it, and you deliver it, and that's it. And
Yeah.
you're lucky.
No,
You're lucky if you
absolutely.
hear back.
That's like 95% of jobs for
And I
sure.
think somebody said this, which is great, and it's this is something you can actually use to pitch somebody. Is obviously for all the parties involved, for a contractor or a client, repeat customers are less. Repeat customers are more affordable or less expensive because we know each other already, so we don't have to put in all that pre-production time,
Yeah,
and you don't have to get to know anybody. And f- right there could be
sure.
5 hours, could be 10 hours, could be 100 hours. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that definitely applies for both parties. So on our end, I don't have to for a repeat customer, I don't have to guess what they're going for. I know their style. I know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
There's some customers that I'm doing work with, and I just know that they love to put a lot of text in their videos. Personally, I hate it. That was a little thing that kept rubbing us at the beginning, but now I know every time I do a video for them, I have to add text to the dialogue that's being said. Otherwise, they're gonna ask for it. So I just do it
Mm.
uh, off the bat on the first draft. So
Like
that's some,
subtitles?
huh?
Like subtitles?
Not subtitles. Like for marketing purposes, they
Yeah,
feel
like boom, boom, like that kind
exactly,
of stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
When it's like a nice line that was being said on the dialogue, they'll
yeah. Yeah,
say,
that's what
"Can
they
you put
want.
that in text?" like in big letters.
All right,
Um,
fine, whatever. Whatever you
exactly,
want. Yeah.
exactly. So it's one of those things where we had a nice back and forth quite a bit in the beginning, but now we don't have to do that because I anticipate that that's what they're gonna want. Um, and the same thing goes for a customer that's shopping around for a videographer or a filmmaker or whatever. Um, they already know that the person that they're already working with, they know what they're looking for. So, like you said, it's less pre-production. They know your style. They know how you edit, how you shoot, all that stuff. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go into the FS7. So we're both big fans of the FS7. It is a it's a camera that it's in high demand, um, and it's been around for a while, and it's still today, I would say, an industry standard. Especially for documentary filmmaker, but it's obviously not limited. Uh, to that, to documentary filmmaking. Um, what do you think that makes a camera like the FS7 so good? And why do you think that I don't know, why have people just been drawn to that camera? Because it's that one or the C300 Mark II, which is like double the price.
Forget who I was just talking to. I mean, I think if you asked me this like 2 weeks ago, it would be different. But I'll probably like spit out what most people who have been shooting on it and just shooting in general longer than me would say, because I came into the FS7 party way late. But people would say, tactically, to answer your question,
Sure.
I think everybody, obviously broad strokes here, everybody was on the C300 Mark One. That was kind of the standard,
Right.
however many years ago. And then the FS7 came out and the C300 came out, whichever one came first. Again, I was probably shooting with a Nikon D7000 or a Panasonic GH1 when the FS7 came out. I'm just guessing. So I'm behind, right?
Right.
I was in a different world. But C300 Mark 1 and then the FS7 and C300 Mark 2 came out, and as far as specs is concerned, slow motion 4K 60 and 1080 180, all 10-bit, all 422. It was not only did it just destroyed the C300 Mark One. I mean, there was a no-brainer. So I think an enormous amount of people moved to the FS7 when it came out, and that's what started the snowball effect.
Mm.
And then we can talk about what why it's so wonderful today. But that's probably what sparked the amazingness, because when it came out, it was and it still is amazing. You can imagine, you can kind of squint your eyes. Everybody's shooting on C300 Mark Ones, and then this FS7 comes out, and it's just
Right.
like a whole nother level,
Yeah.
like beyond another level, you know, for the time.
That's good. And I think today even like I can't say this for certainty, but at least to me it feels like that camera is still in more high demand than the C300 Mark II. But I think I would even say that that might just be because of the price difference. Um, for the price of the C300 Mark II, you could probably get two FS7s. You know,
Yeah, I think so. I I'm actually, this is a big sidebar, so just take
sure.
it over sidebar. My the FS7 is a really big tool for me. Absolutely, definitely like leveled up into that area, and it's like a huge tool. My next level up kind of move is I got a equally as used, if not older. It's like 5 6 years old. It's a Red Epic,
Hmm.
and I've been using that, and I'm almost more in tune with like what the demands of that are and like what it means to be like hired as a red owner operator. But again, that's a sidebar. I say that to say I actually wish I was hired more often as like an FS7 operator, because I'm in the New York City area, and only within like the last 6 months I've been hit up at least a couple times and done at least a couple jobs with the red, and two of them were in New York. So I can tactically see like, okay, there's a demand for this. Um, Whereas the FS7 was a big investment in myself to learn a cinema camera and all that stuff I was telling you about before with dynamic range XLR cables, internal NDs. One of those things on the list was like true log, not just a Canon flat profile
Right.
or a Lumix flat profile from the GH4, but like a true log profile and shooting and grading that. And that's a whole nother story about shooting the FS7 in Cine EI and treating it like a film camera. Kind of, it'll teach you a lot about lighting, and that has definitely taught me a lot in the last couple of years. Um, but to go back, I have a friend, one of my, I guess you can say mentor, is just a guy I'll call if something's too big for me to answer, or I want to bounce an idea off him. He shoots, he's the DP and shoots everything for LinkedIn. And I think it's Lydia or Lynda.com. I always get it confused, which is which, and they teach stuff. But he's shooting doc style interviews. He shoots on C300 Mark IIs. I think he shoots internally now, but he used to shoot raw. But C300 Mark IIs, I think they're there. I think you and I are more in touch with the FS7 because you're on either side of the coin, you know.
Yeah.
But I think they're both out there. I had a job in um, in the Carolinas to do something seriously awesome with basketball. I actually got sick, and it was like one of the first times that I actually had to like cancel. Like,
Wow.
I'm a big, like, deliverer.
Yeah.
Like, I've never delivered anything late before ever. Um, and I've never, like, not showed up or anything like that, and I had a sinus infection and, like, passed out, like, long story, I had such a bad sinus infection, I literally had to, like, scramble and tell this guy I, like, couldn't get on the plane, and it was a huge opportunity. This was not long ago, and I was gonna be like a valuable FS7 owner operator. That was actually the first time I had been hired for something like that. Um, Otherwise, everything is just for my freelance business. You know, somebody needs a video, I'm shooting. But
Mm.
to bring it back, I think it's still a great camera.
When
Yeah, I
you
mean, there's
when
so
you
much.
get when you get hired to do a video, right? And they have no preference in camera. Is
Yeah,
the FS7 what you're using?
yeah, it's a loaded question, right? Because I have a couple cameras, I think, and it depends on over the years. But
Sure.
yes,
I mean, you want to provide the best quality possible
right. So
all the time.
let's just assume at least 50% of a small business or large business or whatever video is based around a voiceover, based around an interview. That being the case, I want to make somebody feel as comfortable as possible. I never want to stop recording. I want to put the microphone directly into the camera. I want to
Mhm.
set the scene. I want to roll with one or two or three cameras. And I never want to stop. I just want to go, hey, this is a conversation between you and me or between you and the line producer. And we're never going to stop recording. You don't have to think about the cameras. And that's it. And yes, it's the FS7. I can shoot 10-bit 422 at 1080 or 4K, and we can just go forever. And that makes everybody feel comfortable, and I can get very high quality audio.
Mm.
And then I can bust out and I can shoot the dope 4K 60 or whatever for B-roll. I don't shoot all my B-roll in slow motion. I'm just saying. Um, you know, a lot of people, it goes on the shoulder out of the box, you know.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. I mean, especially today. Like, yes, I've totally thought about buying like 3 GH5s and just going down that road. We can use any tool.
Yeah.
It's just like, what do you want to do? You know?
Yeah.
But the Sony has, and people could argue, I think, I think, w- and we'll go into this, but the FS7 specifically, but Sony S-Log 2 or 3 specifically, whether it's on an 8-bit camera of the A7 or a 10-bit camera like the FS7 or even 12-bit RAW, um, has the most has the most more dynamic range than a GH5, has more dynamic range than a Canon 5D. What else is everybody using? It has more dynamic range than the Pocket Cinema camera,
Yeah.
Blackmagic. And and that is one of the
Yeah.
biggest thing people will say about what makes a cinematic image is the dynamic range is
Certainly
us up
helps
there.
for sure.
I mean,
Definitely
it's one
certainly
of the
helps.
top. It's one of the top two things. It's dynamic range and skin tones. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what everybody will tell you.
Not many people are a fan of the Sony skin tones. That's one of the things. But I do know that you do have a lot of flexibility, obviously, with the 7, with the FS7. So
So yes, absolutely, and it's a learning experience too. So when I
Yeah.
first got the FS7, that was a huge learning experience, and on the other side of that, it's an investment in yourself. So
Yeah.
when I bought an FS7, I did not need an FS7. When I bought a red camera, I did not need a red camera. But on the other side of learning everything there is to know about that camera, I and you and everybody else who does this level up thing is a more valuable operator or DP. Does that make sense? You're more
Yeah.
valuable. And to go back to the skin tone thing, is you're reading so much when you first get an FS7
Yeah.
from like a Canon or whatever. You're learning so much to figure out to if you want to actually shoot it in Cine EI mode,
Right.
which is like the film mode.
Yeah.
You're going to learn so much exposing and grading. And yes, people don't like the skin tones out of the box because they're used to the Canon or whatever, but we can go into that. I just found some sweet LUTs, and
Yeah.
it's 10-bit 422. You can make it look however you want, truly.
Yeah.
There's a great, I don't remember it, but there's a great video online from some epic DP that compares film to the ARRI, and he basically says, which everybody has kind of accepted to be fact now, and he basically says the cameras are so good now that there's enough information, if captured correctly, to make it look as good, if not better, than film. And the takeaway from that is whether it's a Sony FS7 or an FS5 shooting raw, it's it bad skin tones maybe out of the box to a person that doesn't know what
Mm.
they're doing, which is a relative term, but to a person that knows how to capture that information correctly and manipulate that information correctly, they can make it look however they want.
Yeah. It was a nightmare the first time I took on S-Log 3.
Takes
I
time.
It was on the Sony A7S, the first one. And the first time I shot S-Log 3 was a nightmare. Before that, at that time, I was only used to just dropping the shadows. And usually that gets me very close to where I want to get. But that's not the case here with S-Log 3. So it definitely takes a lot more love.
Totally. And what you just said is totally true. When you shoot a flat profile on a GH4 or a Canon, you're used to literally dropping the blacks, bringing up
Yeah.
the whites, adding saturation, and maybe you could change some color. That's fine. When you shoot in a true log profile,
Yeah.
now you have to transform that log profile into a Rec 709 format and adjust from there. And it's awesome. I mean, teach
Yeah.
yourself. That's the thing. Invest in yourself and just
Passion.
learn that stuff. And if you're like, how do I learn that stuff? It's like, then you got to figure it out and learn it. Like, you would be digging on the internet if you cared that much.
Yeah, it all circles back to like what we were talking about earlier. It's just to have the passion to uh to do this job, to do the work. You know, I actually have a nice little break now from all the work that has been coming in, which is great. I'm actually a little relieved. I know the work is going to start now in about a week and a half or so. So I have a nice little break now. I'm going to shoot 2 short documentaries, and it's on me. It's not something uh that I'm getting hired to do or anything. It's just I'm kind of itching to kind of shoot something. So I'm actually setting something up. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm gonna get to shoot at like an airport hangar, which is awesome. Uh, but I'm constantly looking for other pieces that I can make, things that I think that would look good in my reel also. Um, and actually, my passion projects are the ones that have really allowed me to close deals with customers, with clients. They look at my films. Zion is a perfect example. They've told me they love Zion. We want that for this project, and it was a passion project purely.
Yeah,
something that
you're motivating me right now.
no, I'm
No,
telling you, man, shoot the
yeah.
stuff that you want to be shooting. And that's what I tell people. If you like events, I'm pretty sure anybody will allow you to go and shoot their event if you either for obviously if you say that you're going to do it for free, or and I'm just giving an example of events. But for me, I like documentaries. I love documentaries. I love interesting stories. So I'm constantly looking for an interesting story. Um, so this interesting story is someone that happens to he got into stock trading, became very, very wealthy. He owns his own plane. He loves to fly on the weekends. And I'm like, you know what? I want to sit you down. He has his plane in his own airport hangar at a private local airport not far from here. And I'm like, you know what? Can we shoot there? And I just started asking him questions, and so we're gonna do this short piece on him, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I what I love the most about this is that um, I have all the creative freedom, 100% creative freedom to make this the way I want it to come out. And if it comes out good, then that's what I'm going to be displaying as my work. That's what I want to be displaying, and my like I said, stuff like that is what also allows me to land jobs. Not for people to find me, but for people to see what I can do, you know? And that's literally what convinces clients and potential clients to hire me. It's really helped out a lot for sure.
Yeah, I was doing that. So that's kind of like called spec work. I've been listening to a podcast lately where they're just all these DPs are just talking about like how they were doing this kind of spec work and it just took them off. And it's basically your take this as an example. Well, so I was kind of doing that without knowing it. Like I was going to shoot my buddy like fishing in the river, and I
Okay.
just made like a quick like 1 minute edit from it, and I love it. And this was like it was an A7 III test, and
Okay.
it's like one of the first couple videos on my website, and I love it.
Nice.
And it's kind of highlighting this like little fishing rod that Patagonia makes, and
Okay.
I wish it was like literally a 30-minute thing. Like we went out there for 30 minutes. I shot this guy fishing, and it's a freaking like sick little spec commercial. And what I'm trying to do now is do what I love again, like go do some work for myself. And I wanted to do something bigger than myself. I did a little shooting. I shot a little doc, and
Yeah.
but it wasn't really for myself. What's really for myself I'm feeling now is like I love gorgeous imagery. I love nature. I want to go outside, and like my buddy, I think this Friday we're gonna do. My buddy's like a really good kiteboarder, and he has a little kiteboarding business. And I said, dude,
Nice.
like let me make you a commercial, and it's really gonna be like not that long. Me just like getting these dope shots of him rolling up, getting his stuff on, and going. And then I'm just gonna sit on the water and like shoot this dope kiteboarding and make them like a 30-second or 60-second edit. And hopefully I will do it as amazing as anything I've ever done before. Hopefully it's
Yeah.
like the best. And I could make it look so awesome and high caliber commercial that, maybe some big brand like Oakley or something of that nature
Yeah.
see it, or I can pitch it to other people.
There
And
you
then
go.
another thing is my buddy's a fisherman, and we've been talking about, there's cooler companies and sunglass companies and stuff like this, or fishing companies. And it's just like, I just want to go out and do that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that's what I just want to do is just go shoot. That stuff is fun for me. So do what you love and just put the work out there, you know? So I
Yeah.
remember I got this anamorphic adapter. It was this off-brand one. It was like this, not off-brand, one of the first ones back in the day when they went from HD to 16 by 9, Century Optics. And I made this video. It's on my website. I might have replaced it with something I thought was better, but it's a get out and shoot. And it's an anamorphic adapter test video that I made. It's like a mini short film. And some clients said they liked that. Like they
Yeah.
mentioned that they liked that. So anyway, I went on a tangent, but that's good. You're inspiring me to like schedule this stuff. You need to rest. It's a really good point that we're talking about this. You need to rest and you need to do stuff
Yeah,
for yourself
yeah,
because you see all these people, they look really busy and they look really successful and they're doing all these dope commercials or whatever. Um, a lot of them not miserable, but there's a challenge
yeah,
between you have to rest, believe it or not. You have to rest and you have to do stuff for yourself. You have to take care of yourself. So like, am I going to be happy doing,
yeah,
having this big contract with this big company doing, 50 videos? Like, probably not. Like, if that's all I'm doing, I need to
yeah.
I need to take Fridays off and, go shoot like something creative, you know?
I'll be honest with you. I'm not like I have no problem putting the camera down and not wanting to shoot anything. Like every now and then I do want to just put the camera down and enjoy my friends and family and not have to be the one that's kind of obligated to take the camera to events and whatnot. Um, I love
The
shooting.
event thing, yeah, the
Yeah.
event thing, I hear you. There is something in me that's like,
Yeah.
well, it's a Saturday afternoon. I should grab something and like
Yeah.
go down to the water because
Yeah.
like I love doing it, you
Yeah.
know.
Like
But I
and
don't
I
want to
do
be working at the family party.
exactly. Exactly. Like I mean um I just had a graduation for, my girlfriend's sister. That's kind of like, okay, I'll take the camera for sure. I'll go and take pictures, but things like you said, Christmas party or something like that, where you have to take the camera and it's basically on you. Um, there's just times where even that gets tiring. It's not that I'm getting tired, not that I'm like, I guess the passion's going away. It's just it gets tiring seeing looking at the screen all the time. Um, trying to continue on getting creative shots and also I think a lot of it also is because it's because I love to get like go above and beyond and get different angles and I know that what it requires, the time that it requires to get such a nice shot, it's not time that I'm willing to take away from this event that I would like to kind of be a part of, um I know that if I go all out to try and make a nice video, it's going to take some time, and it's just, do you dedicate that time to make a nice video or do you just enjoy the moment kind of deal for me,
Mhm.
and that's really where it comes down to. um if I could just point and shoot everywhere I go, that'd be fine, but it's not usually the case. Last year I made a video for 4th of July. It was fun. I went with a ton of people over to Naples and we had a great time at the beach and I decided, yes, I'm going to make this video. But I know I was fully aware that it's going to have to be, I'm going to be with the camera most of the time, shooting, all that stuff. But I was aware of it and I made the decision, sure, I'm going to do this. It's going to be fun. Um, but like, let's say I take the camera to try to make a video. If I'm not fully invested in making that one little video, I'm not going to end up making a video at all because it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be the way that I feel it could be because I didn't dedicate the time to shoot it properly. There's a funny thing happening with somebody over there and you know what, should I continue enjoying what I'm doing now or should I go and run grab the camera and try and shoot that. It's kind of those things, so that's why sometimes I feel like let me put the camera down, let me take a break from this and enjoy the moment. But yeah, that's completely different from passion projects though. Passion projects is something that I love to get creative with, something that it's kind of your own thing.
Yeah.
And they're so much fun. They're so much fun to shoot those, to have that creative flexibility.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try and make my buddy's kiteboarding commercial this weekend. I'm
Nice.
I'm I'm mentioning this so I can hold myself accountable. And
We'll
then
come back on the next episode and see how that goes.
yeah, no, I mean, definitely look out. That'll happen quick. I don't know if the fishing thing can happen. That's a
Yeah.
bigger conversation. We're trying to make that So yeah, we can talk about learning curve for a second because I'll take a sidebar. I just want to
Do it.
encourage people and say eh, twofold. I mean, we're always learning, number one, and all number two, like prep your stuff. Like I love prepping. I don't like, of course we run into stuff all the time. Um, but what's really funny is that for this podcast, I had no doubt in my mind. I did my church's Facebook Live through the FS7, coming out of a small HD as the output into my computer, no problem. Facebook Live. I had
Right.
no doubt in my mind this would work. So for this podcast live on YouTube, I was like, I'm going to do the same thing, no problem. Got this stuff all set up. If you look, I'm looking around, but right now, at least I'm recording good audio, I think, and I'm on my MacBook with some shoddy like look right now. But in front of me is the FS7 all rigged out, and I have this director's monitor with wireless follow focus and everything. I was going to be all decked out with the RE LUT, and like it would have looked dope. But when we loaded it in here, it was like super widescreen skewed, and uh, because of time and because the day creeped up on me because we have like real jobs where we have to like really work.
Yeah.
um I was prepped like 4 minutes late for this thing, or like 4 minutes early, so I didn't have time. So after troubleshooting for like 6 minutes and being 10 minutes late on this thing, I just said, you know what, forget it. Hopefully now, not hopefully, but most people will listen to this on the audio anyway, so I just went with this. But all that to say, to be encouraging, is like, dude, we mess up, people mess up, we're all
Yeah.
human, and just prep your gear. Like I love, you want to prep your gear. You want to find that, you want to figure
Yeah.
that stuff out early. So
Speaking of gear prep, you mentioned something to me the other day that I found quite interesting. So for me,
I like it when you find stuff interesting that I say.
yeah. So for me, because I guess I don't prep my gear the way that you do. So I have a certain slot. I have like three main cases that I always go to shoots with, and then depending on what the client needs, I'll add a third and I'll add a fourth and fifth case. But for the main cases, all my stuff is always in the same place every single time I go out. So I have a spot for every single lens, every single camera, every single cable, accessory. You mentioned the other day that that's always changing for you.
Yeah. So this is a
This is gear talk
so
now.
no. So yeah, I mean, it definitely is, but it's worth it. It's actually a good. This is valuable information.
Yeah,
People ask these questions all the time. They're like, "Hey, what bag do you use?" and all that stuff. Um, what it comes down to is you, and correct me if I'm wrong,
sure.
but you have those three cases. You have the luxury that those do not move or change because you're using those three cases in a local environment.
Hmm.
So if you were hired to, I'm just going to make up a story. If you were hired to go up to Canada, you had to fly to Canada. Um, your client isn't gonna, like, okay, yeah, flying, for instance. Like, so when you fly, I'm not checking any cameras, any batteries, and any lenses or
Right,
any monitors. I'm not checking any of that.
right.
So I have to be very intentional about what I bring on because the carry-on space is so limited. Pelican 1510 is sweet, but it's not that big on the inside.
Yeah,
Think Tank Backpack Airport Accelerator is a lot bigger on the inside. I have to be very specific.
yeah,
So a lot of stuff for Sennheiser last year was international, and that is kind of where that stems from. So in a local environment, if you can financially do it, um, you can, and you don't have to change up your baggage. and you're packing, then that's great. But the second you start also adventuring and stuff too, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm going to go down to the beach and shoot, or I want to go to the woods and shoot some stuff,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
might bring a backpack with a certain camera and a certain
Yeah.
lens. I might change some things up, and
Yeah. So
maybe I just have ADD.
I would I would travel a ton. I would travel a ton. I don't travel as often anymore. But when I did travel, it was actually kind of the same for me. I do have the airport accelerator from Think Tank, and I just pack everything in there.
Mhm.
Everything. 3, 4 lenses that I take. Now I'm up to 5 lenses.
So it is
That
very similar when I'm doing the same thing.
right. And yeah, and I do sometimes reconfigure the backpack, right? So if I need a monitor, and sometimes I do have to sacrifice a monitor just because, I'll have to make do with the camera's monitor. Things like that. Sometimes I would rig up my FS7 with the or the FS5 when I was traveling a lot with a Vlox, but that requires rods, that requires a base plate, that requires the plate for the actual Vlogs. It's more things that I have to take. So things that I had to sacrifice also. But for even till today, the main Pelican case that has the lights, and the main my porta brace case that has all the tripods and light stands and all that stuff. Those are the two things that I would check. And the things that came on with me was my carry-on with the clothing and my clothes, and my big backpack, which is basically the same size as my carry-on. That was uh my personal item that was on my back. So it's just
Mhm.
a lot. It is a lot of stuff. But I think I perfected that science where having that nice balance, and it does help that I'm tall, that I'm big. So the big airport accelerator doesn't look like a ginormous carry-on on my back.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a great bag. But I mean, a good example is like, what am I gonna shoot?
Right.
So right
Yeah.
now I've got FS7. It's got while we shot last week the first interview for this year for Sennheiser, and that there's wireless, there's director's monitor, and there's shoulder rig and everything. If I'm gonna do this thing on Friday for fun, this kiteboarding commercial, I have a plan. I'm gonna bring the easy rig. Um, It's more of like this adventure thing. So, like, I'm on the beach, they're out in the middle of nowhere. It's like Canon 100 to 400, like tripod, 70 to 200, 24 to 105, 16 to 35.
Yeah.
Like that's going to go over there. Those lenses I've had in the past, in the last 3, 4 years. I
Yeah.
sold those. I recently got them because of this Ocean X thing. So, um, like that's that. And then here's the red, and I have batteries. So it's kind of like every job has a different pack to a point.
Yeah.
Sennheiser Pro Talk is a formula, and I have lists. I have a list for that
Got
shoot.
it.
But it, like I don't want to bring um, a lot to certain things. We went to Romania to shoot a documentary. We followed a girl who went to go find her birth mother, and we were following her and shooting her, and that was an amazing pack. I could do a whole thing on that. The idea for that pack and for that shoot coming from me was that too many times have I shot or traveled internationally on like a mission trip or in like a dock setting where
Yeah.
number one, I had way too much stuff, and number two, I had to like wait for myself or people had to wait for me. And I knew in this following this girl documentary that everywhere from the car to the airport to the airplane, I didn't want to hold myself back. I didn't want to miss a shot because I was fumbling with something.
Right.
So we literally packed. I shot everything natural light. There was a mic on the camera. I had the FS7 stripped down to bare bones. I could just handhold it. Um, and I didn't want to be working out of anything heavier or bigger than a small backpack.
Hmm.
So it was like everything is custom. But going on your point, if we're gonna do like a corporate gig, you know, there's a case with 2 aperture 120Ds and power and modifiers, then I will recreate the case that has the FS7 and all that
Sure.
stuff. I love having the FS7 fully built,
Yeah.
and I don't build it on set. I bring it in the front seat of the car or the back seat of the car, and it's fully built. I put it right on the tripod and it's done.
Dude, it's amazing. It's amazing how similar you and I are with regards to all that stuff. Because I'm always posting pictures of that. I don't know if you see it. I just put the seatbelt on my camera that's already built out when I'm going out to a shoot.
Yeah.
And yeah, because it's quite time consuming to build out your camera when you get on set.
Mhm.
So yeah, same thing. I like to just have it built out. Uh, if anything, I'll just leave out the monitor and I'll just put the monitor on after when I get there. But yeah, in the front seat while I'm going to a shoot and um with the seatbelt on.
Yep.
That's it. I think I want to pick up a I know that there are bags that are meant for that though.
Yeah.
Like a porter brace or
I
something.
have a friend. I have a friend at Think Tank, or not a friend at Think Tank. Think Tank has always been a really. They've just always been really nice to me. Going back 3-4 years before I did anything, they like sent me a backpack. But they make a video rig like 40 or something. It's basically
Yeah.
like a big box. I don't know if you know about the video transport. They're green, that are really nice bags. But this is like the video rig, and it's basically a cube. It's for that. Exactly. The
Yeah.
porta brace is always nice, and I have one, and my FS7 won't fit in there.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh. Oh, I guess I'll look into that Think
I'm
Tech
partial.
one.
Yeah, I'm partial, and they're on sale right now too,
Hmm.
I think.
Gotta check that out. Gotta put links to all that stuff.
Yeah.
Man, so this was an awesome, awesome, fun episode. We do have plans to do more episodes together.
Yeah, I would
Very
love that.
excited.
I think we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We
Oh
didn't even
man,
really scratch the surface today.
not even close. I think that it was good to see the similarities in our shooting style and even the gear and our concepts behind our philosophies and how we even got started. It's very, very similar. I think that it was awesome to have met you at an AB, to continue to stay in communication and just to continue networking. For sure, we're going to continue making some more episodes together. And if anybody listening has any questions that they would like to hear answered, send it on over to us over at iFilmmaker.tv. You could put it on the comment section to this episode. And it's just a lot of fun. Where can people find you? I know that obviously there's Instagram and your website and all that stuff. You want to go ahead and plug all your stuff in here?
Yeah, it's funny. Some people think my name is Juliana because I have to. Because the spelling it's Julian, and then my middle initial is A, and then my last name is Jarry.
Juliana.
And some guy, you know how it is. Some kid on Instagram has my name, Julien Jarry, and he like never uses it, but it's JulienAJarry. That's Instagram, and then JulienJarry.com. And I think we are similar. We're both tall. We both shoot on the FS7.
Yeah,
We
our
have
height.
similar, values and just stuff we like to do. And this will be fun. And I think we have crossover on the followers and stuff. Posting gear and trying to help people and just give back. So I think people know who we are, and I think it would be fun if there was at least a dozen or so questions or something. Maybe we could get back together
Yeah.
and do one of these and do like a Q&A thing. So
Yeah, we do
that would be
Q&As
fun.
here all the time. We could definitely do one together. That'd be a lot of fun. You have a website, right? Julian.
Yeah, it's just first and last name, JulienJarry.com. Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna plug all that stuff in for the show notes in this episode over at iFilmmaker.tv. Thank you to everyone that joined us live. I think we were so focused on the subject matter. Oh my gosh, we were so focused on the subject matter that people were having their.
I was gonna ask you, but I didn't want to like stop the flow. But what?
No, man, we were flowing so well. I want to thank Danny Mirabal. I see Zach Trinka came on here as your boy. Kevin Reyes, Life of Neil, like all you guys, thanks so much for joining us. King Fred, they had their own little party here in the group chat.
What were they saying?
We have Life of Neil saying Julien is the man. He's helped me a lot, and I'm sure he's helped many more. Bless. Yeah, and then we said Danny Mirabal was the same at NAB where Julien had to get. Was that the same NAB where Julien had to get an extra small HD?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know who that is. Who is it?
Danny Mirabal.
Danny.
Yeah, he's a regular here on the show.
Okay, I don't know how Danny has that inside information, but yes, maybe he followed the story or something. But basically, I realized that the FS7, and I should have known this. This is so stupid and it's embarrassing, but it can't output, which is stupid. It can't output SDI and HDMI at the same time, but it has 2 SDI outs. And for whatever reason, I was like, dude, I need an SDI monitor, and I don't have it for the director's monitor. And Small HD hooked it up. I basically begged them, and they didn't do it out of nowhere. I bugged them, but they hooked me up with a new Cine 7, which is insane. I was not expecting that. But yes, Danny, you have that inside information. I'm not sure how.
He's well, he said you posted it online. You posted about it online.
Yeah. That's cool.
We have well, before you go, this is one question that came in. It says, Julien, who are you most influenced by, both creatively and technically, when it comes to your video work?
Oh yeah. So
it's okay to say me, man. It's not gonna be.
Yes, dude. Yes. Well, definitely everybody like that. Yes. Yeah. There's a point where influence needs to stop and you need to get back to your roots and do what you love. I'm not gonna go look up some kiteboarding commercial videos before I go shoot this kiteboarding commercial on Friday. That's going to mess me up. That's going to make me focus on, in the past I would do that, but today I want to do me. I want to do what just comes to me naturally. But that being said, you need to do your research. You need to do your, I watch a lot of Netflix.
Yes.
I watch a lot of Netflix and I watch a lot of Amazon Prime because Amazon has money and therefore their productions are beasts. Yeah. Amazon Prime Homeland with Julia Roberts is shot with these crazy anamorphic lenses. Not just crazy because they're anamorphic, but I think they're like too small for the sensor that they're on. So it's like very crazy.
Wow.
And just like true Netflix, like true Amazon Prime, like fit some of my top favorite movies: Sicario, No Country for Old Men. Like, come on, that stuff is just good.
Nice.
I don't think
I love Sicario.
I think the Instagram, like that's where deep stuff is, right? I can mention some people online, but I think what I just said about those movies or those series is where you're really going to get into lighting and stuff.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. And yeah, I just want to point out something. I fully agree with you in the sense that looking at other stuff would mess you up for sure. But you also did mention it's good when you're starting off. And I want to point that out to people that might be starting off. It's always good to see other people's work to get motivation. But yeah, what you said right where we're at, I think like I'm not going to go out and look at before I do my project with this airplane owner at the hangar. I'm not going to go out and look at other work. I already have a nice visual representation in my head of what I want this to kind of look like.
Yeah.
And I'm going to definitely shoot for that. And yeah, it would mess me up, but that's because I've already had many, many years of looking at other people's work, you know, and so I already have a good idea of what this is going to come out to. But I think for creative influence, just look at the people that you like. Look at the work that you like, follow the people that make that work, and kind of pick and choose what you like, what you don't like, because there's never a one person. I don't think I've ever found one person that I emulate completely. I always take bits and pieces of a lot of people and kind of find my own way.
Yeah, and we should clarify that when we were saying mess you up, everybody will say this, and this wasn't even a concept to me. Again, to put this into perspective and to be encouraging for people, this wasn't even a concept to me until eight years in. You know, this is like a long journey.
Yeah.
But the concept of being subconsciously influenced by others, and that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, we're doing this all the time. Like,
Yeah.
no matter what, the second I put the camera up, I'm going to do that. But there's that let me try to do something different, to be different, or just be myself. You know, when we all started, we just started because we were trying to express ourselves or just do what we like. So there's a balance. You know, if again, 8 years in, 9 years in, I was self-aware of the concept of emulating others. So don't just keep it in check. Do what you love. Make cool pictures because you like it. Just keep it simple.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's where we're gonna cut it off today, man. Today was a phenomenal episode. For those of you that want to check out the links and see all of Julien's work, I'm gonna put all the links over at iFilmmaker.tv, show notes for this episode. Make sure you check that out and subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe over on iTunes, Spotify, all the podcasting platforms. We're on there. Obviously YouTube. Go and subscribe and get notified every time we go live. Julien is going to be back on the show for sure, many more times. And dude, glad you can make it on this one. Glad we were able to finally make this happen.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. That was fun. Good chat. Hopefully we help people, and I can't wait for the next one.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one later.